Sick to the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly get caught in the fake. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor pulls the lights right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity where they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Steam Fun Kelly with the sand clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
Hello, and welcome to the Pun Show. And thank you for joining. I do not have a guest host or a guest today. It's just me with daily musings and or ramblings, as those may be. Sorry, I have not been around for the last couple of days. My long COVID caught up to me and kind of knocked me down for a few days. So I have a cat that comforts me. So at least I have that. I don't know where I'd be without my cat. Excuse me. I hope you can hear me. I don't think my voice is very strong right now. Anyway, welcome to the Pun Show. And there's been just a bit of economic news that has come out since I was last on this platform. You may or may not have heard the stock market is not doing well for some reason. And it may have to do with the tariffs that Donald Trump imposed. So I wanted to talk about that and some of the takes that I've seen on that. And one thing I see a lot of, and which makes sense on the surface, is there's a lot of people that are saying it's no big deal. 2020, the market came back. 2008, the market came back. And all that is true. That does not mean people did not lose money in 2020 or 2008. Just because people made money does not mean people did not lose money, or that those are the same groups of people. The people that made money are the ones that came in and bought the stock from the people that sold them. And the ones that sold them were generally the people who, like that was their life savings. That was their retirement. That was their 401k. And they had to get out before they lost everything instead of just losing almost everything. And the people who bought it up are the ones that really didn't have anything to lose. The ones who, if the stock had continued to go down, they could have eaten the loss fine. They're not gonna not put butter on their bread because the stock market price dipped a couple more dollars. And I think that's one thing that people like when they're just talking about this and in the general stock market sphere of things, is that not all investors are the same. There are some investors who have lots of money, and there are some investors who are just trying to ensure they have enough money so that they can live out their senior years in peace and die without becoming a debt to their children. And unfortunately, it's the latter that is really taking the hit here. It's not, just weather the storm. That's an easy thing to say if you have the liquidity to do that, but not everybody does. Not everybody has the money to just sit there and endure, a 50% loss to their 401ks. Or, and the other thing that's different that I think doesn't get enough attention is that this is not like other financial crises we've had, like in 2020, the COVID crisis. Well, that wasn't like a politically born thing. That was not something that somebody did on purpose. And in 2008, with the housing bubble crashing, that's not really something that what's the word I'm looking for? It certainly could have been avoided, and there were certainly actions that were taken that caused it, but this was more like years and years separating them. This was not like the intentional singular act of one man that caused the stock market to crash. And that's where I think this is different. And I think it's different too, in that we can't just expect that it's going to rebound the same way, because the same factor applies. There's no question that an international trade war is bad for the international economy. And that includes ours. And I'm not just talking about the stock market at that point. The stock market is reacting to what they are afraid is going to happen in the economy. The economy is not reacting to the stock market. And the economy is in real danger right now. Like the Trump administration is being so obdurately, intentionally stupid about this whole thing that they're out there still trying to convince us that other countries pay tariffs or whatever. But the reality is that these tariffs are paid by Americans. It's not money comes from China to America to pay for the Chinese tariffs. No, the Chinese tariffs mean that different Americans pay other Americans eventually. What happens is that the goods come in from China, and they come into a shipping yard, and then whoever ordered those goods, whoever the importer is, they have to go and they pay a tax. That's called a tariff. Then that tariff is that increases the cost of the goods that they brought in, and so then they tend to raise the prices going down the ladder, so that the next person has to pay, and then the next person, like the middle, you get the importer, and then they send it to a vendor who sends it to a retailer, and then the retailer sells it to the customers. And each of those transactions, there's another financial transaction that happens, and with each of those the markup is passed on to the next. And there's something called the pass-through rate, which measures how much of that tariff that starts off ends up getting passed through to the consumer. And last year the pass-through rate on the tariffs was about 100%. In other words, all the money that is being tariffed is ended up being paid for by the American consumer. And by the American consumer, I don't mean the American billionaire. I mean the American consumer. I'm talking about the person that goes to Walmart and buys a pair of jeans. That's the person. And so by that person, I mean you. In all likelihood, you. If you go shopping, let's just put it this way. If you go shopping, if you're not rich enough that you don't have to go shopping, but you actually go shopping yourself and buy things like clothes and food, you will be paying tariffs. You won't be paying it directly. It won't show up in your bill. It won't say, 10% tariff charge. It'll just show up there on the shelf in the price of the thing you're buying. And so you won't be able to say, oh, this is 9% tariffs, but the price will go up 10%, and you will know that it's because of tariffs. And here's the thing. They keep saying, well, if you don't want to pay higher prices, just buy American, as though American prices can't go up because of tariffs. Now, let's just say you're not an idiot. I'm going to give everybody in the audience here the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to assume that you are not an idiot. So let's say that you're not an idiot and you own your own company, right? And you were selling hammers. It's a hammer company, and you were selling hammers at $10 a piece. And you were getting undersold by these Chinese hammers that were selling at $9 a piece. But the cheapest you could go was $10. So you're just trying to hang in there and not lose out to this $9 a hammer business, right? And so then the tariffs come on, and all of a sudden those $9 hammers are now $18, right? And you were just barely skimming by making that $10 hammer, or selling that one hammer of yours for $10. Well, now your competition is their like hammer is selling for $18. So are you going to continue to sell your hammer for $10? Or are you going to bump the price up to $15, $16, $17, $17.99, right? You can raise the price on your hammers because the price on your competitors' hammers have gone up, and that's, because of the tariffs. That's actually what tariffs were designed to do. Tariffs are designed to raise the prices on foreign goods so that domestic goods can have a better chance to sell. But that does not mean that those domestic goods aren't selling at a higher price. They absolutely are. They're selling at the highest price they can. That's called supply and demand. That's called capitalism. So don't think that that's not going to happen, that, U.S. auto retailers aren't going to raise their prices and blame it on something like to do with Biden or whatever. It's going to happen, right? Like, prices are going to go up. So you've got idiots out there pretending they're not. So I'm going to just show you some videos of some things I've been watching, and just a second here. Oh, I see what's going on. In the wrong folder.
When do you think the market might turn around?
It's finding a bottom now. But look, here's the thing. It's going to shift over, and it's going to be companies in the S&P 500 who are the first to produce here. Those are the ones going to lead the recovery. And it's going to happen. Dow 50,000, I guarantee that. And I guarantee no recession, okay? Why? Because when we pass the biggest, broadest tax cut in history within a matter of months, that's going to be a great stimulus. There's not going to be any inflation. We've already had a significant drop, a huge drop in oil prices, Laura. That's like a point off the CPI. We're going to have lower yields of mortgage.
All right, Peter,
rates.
great.
Okay, so first of all, I just would like to point out that the oil prices coming down have absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with tariffs. I don't know why they're coming down. Why are they coming down? Yeah, so they're actually, I think they're coming down because people are actually worried about a recession. So anyway, it's nothing to do with some genius move that Trump made to, get oil prices to come down. And this is one thing that the Trump supporters and the Trump administration likes to do, is anything that good that happens while Trump is president happens because he is president, and anything that bad that happened while Biden was president happened because Biden was president. But anything bad that happened while Trump was president, like COVID is just, that's nothing he could do anything about, and anything bad that happened while Biden was president, like the Afghanistan pullout, where there was a lot of that had nothing to do with Biden, and actually a lot more to do with Trump. But they won't hear things. They won't ground any conversation in reality. So you can't really talk to them about those things. So with Navarro there, what was he saying?
When do you think the market might turn around?
It's finding a bottom now. It's finding a bottom now.
Anything good happens while I'm alive happens because I'm alive. Anything bad, I blame the Canadians. And that's a totally fair stance. Especially the trade war is all Canada's fault. Just ask Donald Trump. But okay, so let's
look. Here's the thing. It's going to shift over, and it's going to be companies in the S&P 500 who are the first to produce here. Those are the ones going to.
You'll notice here there is complete lack of anything specific. With all of these things, there's never anything specific. There's just going to be this magic thing that happens whereby these companies are going to like become better because of the tariffs or something like that.
Lead the recovery, and it's going to happen.
And they're going to lead the recovery.
I guarantee that, and I guarantee no recession. Okay, why? Because when we
no recession,
the biggest, broadest tax cut in history within a matter of months, that's going to be a great stimulus.
Yeah, the biggest, broadest tax cut that goes like almost exclusively to billionaires. That's not going to put more money in people's pocket. And it's not really that broad. And this is actually one of the things that I think that the media needs to pay more attention to, is that they're talking about these tariffs in conjunction with the Bush tax cuts, which this is actually their plan. Their plan is for the tariffs to offset the Bush tax cuts. But tariffs, as we just went through, tariffs are not paid for by other countries. Tariffs are not paid for by the billionaires. Tariffs are paid for by the consumer, which is mostly the middle class and the poor. Like, that's literally by definition the majority of the country, right? Middle class, I mean, depending on how you define it, but even if you were to just define it as like the first four quintiles, if you were to say the top quintile, the top 20% of the country is not middle class anymore, they're wealthy, which is maybe not quite accurate. I think that they're the upper middle class for the most part. The majority of us are those who, and if you want to know if you're rich or not, do you look at price tags? If you want to know the definition of rich, that's it. Do you look at price tags? And I don't mean on the shirt you're buying. I mean on the house you're buying. Like, if you have to know what the price of things are, then you are not rich. Because that means you may not really be able to afford the thing that you're looking at. We might say, okay, if you can, you might be able to buy your, not like if you're rich enough that you don't have to check the price on your house, but you not quite into, I can afford my own airplane money. I'll hand you that, maybe airplanes aren't the kind of thing you have to be able to buy with your, just with your couch cash. But for the most part, if you're not having to live wondering how much money you have, if you have no thought of whether you have enough money, if you've never had to sit there at the checkout line hoping that the credit card clears, then you're wealthy. But most of us aren't. Most of us aren't living like that. Most of us have concerns. Most of us, can see the bottom end of our bank account whether that's $25,000 away or $25 away, it's not $25 million away. And they're like, we are not, as a society, like most of us that are going to be paying the tariffs are not wealthy. And you know, if you were to just say a 10% tariff across the world, and then, you know, start factoring in all this other stuff, and so then if prices went up for you for 10% for the year, that means that if you were making $70,000, you might as well be making $63,000. A bunch of your money just went to paying those tariffs. And there's no tax credit. You don't get a tax break. You don't even get to file taxes on it. Because all it is it's all in the retail price. And so you will never have anything that in your mind says this is what you paid in taxes for that item. Like even with sales taxes, you get a sales receipt, right? And it says, you know, like 6% sales tax. And it tells you what the sales tax is. Tariffs don't do that. Tariffs, all that price, all that tax is built into the consumer price. So if you were paying $10 for a thing and now you're paying $20 for a thing, all you see on your receipt is $20 for the thing that you bought. Right? So yeah, this is inflation. You know, they want to sit there and say, "Oh, this isn't inflation because this is a one-time spike." But hear me out now. Like, you know, is it really not inflation because it's a one-time spike? Let's say that you have, we'll just say this to make the numbers easy, right? Like not that this is what, let's say you have 100% sales tax on Chinese goods, right? And so this one thing that was $100 is now $200. Okay. And let's say that thing went up in price 2% over the next year, which that's good for inflation. Like that's good inflation, right? Perfect inflation is 2%, because 2%, you don't want to not have any inflation at all, because if you don't have any inflation at all, that means the economy is struggling, and it means that it's weak. But too much inflation is bad. What you want is right around 2% inflation with higher wage growth, because that way the average worker is making more money and they're actually able to buy more with the money they make. But let's say that you artificially jack up inflation by, or, you know, tariffs. And so now that thing that was $100 is now $200, right? And then let's say just after that next year of inflation, just regular, let's say 2% inflation, then that 2% of 200 would be $4, whereas 2% of 100 would be $2. All right, so now that 2% inflation is costing you twice as much as it would have without the tariffs, right? So you basically have to double the idea of what inflation is with that, right? Like 2% inflation is 2% inflation, but you're paying 4% more just in the inflationary costs over what you would have a year prior. That's not counting the tariff cost. So is inflation really temporary? All the inflation the next year is going to be double what it would have been, or you know, something close to that relative to the tariff percentage. So I don't quite buy this argument that it's temporary. And the other thing is that it's not like the tariffs come on and then all of a sudden all the prices go up at the same time, and then that somehow makes it better. first of all, it doesn't make it any better. It doesn't make it easier to pay for if it's all at once. I don't care if it happens over a year or happens overnight. It's still going to cost you more money to buy than it would have, which is inflation. But the second part of that is that it's not actually realistically true. Like the prices are coming up more, and let me explain where my thought is on this. The totality of the costs is only measurable if you're looking at something that's a finished product from the beginning, right? But you have a lot of cases where you have companies where they're making stuff in America. Is another thing. Make everything in America and you'll be fine. Well, first of all, like making everything in America is like obscenely ignorant thing to say. Like nothing is all American made anymore. And nothing is all Finnish made or Russian made or German made or China made or whatever. It's like we have an international economy right now, and different products and resources are mined or made or grown in other places. Like I saw a guy complaining today that Mr. Beast wasn't making his chocolate in America, as though like American cocoa beans are a thing. Like people are just idiots sometimes, and they're resolute in their idiocy, and it's hard to break through that idiocy when all you're trying to do is just get them to slow down and think for a second, right? But tariffs, they affect all the different parts of a thing, right? So you might have, somebody that's making aluminum siding, right? And so they get their aluminum from one place and they get their paint from another place, and then they, combine it all here in America, and all those things matter, right? Like you have to figure out what price are you going to end up paying for aluminum. So like Canada has a 25% aluminum tariff now. Well, where else can I get aluminum? And so then they have to go and they have to look around to find where else can they get the aluminum cheaper than the Canadian aluminum with the 25% tariff. And maybe they find it, maybe they don't. But then if they do find it, and then the tariffs come down because the trade war is over, then what do? Do they leave the other company that they just found and then go back to Canada? And then does that make it harder for the company that's like trying to secure this contract for them? Like, how do they work it into their interest to where they're not going to be abandoned the moment that Trump's tariffs come off? So it's like there's different factors that are involved here. One is like what other products are involved in the thing that you're manufacturing. Where are you getting them from? How much is it essential to what you're doing? Do you have an alternative recourse to get that thing if it's from a highly tariffed country? What incentives do those other countries or those other companies in other countries have to deal with you? Like when, for instance, the same company that was selling its aluminum could sell it to somebody else and make more money because there's no tariffs. So it's like, that's the other thing that I think is dumbfoundingly stupid, is when you declare a trade war on the entire world, it's like you against the world. And guess what? The world is bigger than we are. We make up about 2.5% of the world's population. That means we have about 2.5% of the world's consumers, right? We cannot win a trade war with the entire world. Yes, we have the largest economy in the world. We do not have the only economy in the world. And part of the reason that we have the largest economy in the world is that we've practiced free trade agreements, which we are now violating. We are turning on the thing which made us what we are. So, anyway, let's go on to, whoops. Let's see if, can I find another video clip here?
Are headed for a recession. I spoke with one CEO over the weekend. He said we are already in a recession. So how do you deal with that as you are trying to implement all of these new policies like deregulation when you've got the market expecting a sharp slowdown in economic activity, sir?
Well, Maria, I think what the CEO may have alluded to, and I've said it in the past, that the manufacturing sector under the previous administration was in a recession. So what we are doing is what I call reprivatizing the economy. 80% of the job creation was either government jobs or government adjacent, which is education and healthcare. And this massive amount of government borrowing. So we are also getting the deficit under control, right-sizing the federal workforce, and then on the other side, they're going to re-lever the private sector through smart, safe, and sound bank deregulation. And then, as this CEO said, they can come out of recession because I expect that long-term interest rates should come down as we get the budget under control, inflation under control, energy prices come down, and then the private sector will have room to grow.
Yeah. Well, look, let's hope that this
is just wishonomics. You will notice again, I keep pointing this out, and I mean, it's not like to insult the 100 or so of you that are in my audience. It's not like I have the most massive audience in the world, but I really wish somebody else would start pointing this out. The incredible lack of specifics that come with anything from the Trump administration. This clown is like fourth or fifth from the presidency. I think Secretary of Treasury comes after Secretary of State. So he would be Vice President, Speaker of the House, President pro tempore, Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury. So this clown is fifth in line. And this is what he offers us as an explanation of things. Just a bunch of wish economics. There's nothing there. There's no substance to anything he said. And you'll notice he did not say anything about tariffs at all. So why tariffs are needed for any of that, I don't know. But it's like he's just avoiding the reality that a lot of people are really, really, really worried about the economy right now because the Trump administration is doing really, really stupid things that are really, really, really going to hurt it. All right, so let's go to the next one. It's kind of a depressing day to be alive, to be honest. Oh, here, this is one of my favorites.
People are paying tariffs. Countries are paying tariffs. Right now, China's paying. Countries are paying tariffs. Countries are paying tariffs. Right now.
Who's paying tariffs, Donald?
Countries are paying tariffs.
I keep being told that he does not say that other countries pay tariffs, but I'm pretty sure that right there he said countries are paying tariffs.
Countries are paying tariffs.
Right, I'm not just making that up. He said countries are paying tariffs. Let's one more time.
Tariffs. Countries are paying tariffs.
Yeah,
right now, China's paying a 104% tariff.
China's paying 104% tariff, people. Not you. Not you. China. China is paying the tariff, according to Donald Trump. Now, don't let the fact that China is not paying a dime of that tariff fool you.
Think of it, 104%.
104%. That's right, America. 104%. Look how menacing he looks right there. Boy, he looks so intense and menacing and just like, yeah, don't mess with me. I'm an idiot who like sits there and pretends that my own country is China.
Now, it sounds ridiculous, but they charged us for many items 100.
They charged us for many items. What? Name one. Name one. Your like the Make America Great Again hats. What are they putting 104% tariff on? Go on, tell me. Name one.
125%.
Okay, what are they putting 125% tariff on, Donald? What?
Many countries have. They've ripped us off.
Many countries. Okay, name one. You notice that they're never specific about a damn thing. They just
Left
say
and
shit.
right. But now it's our turn to do the ripping. That's okay. We're gonna make our country even.
So this is what we get. Just an idiot who still does not know who pays tariffs. He still does not know. Allegedly, he went to Wharton. I learned who pays tariffs at Minneapolis Community College. All right. If I can learn that there in a macroeconomics course, he can learn it at Wharton, where they're allegedly, and I mean, my brother went there, by the way. I'll put in a link if you want to support a great candidate. My brother, Stephen Schwab, is running for office in Texas. And I'll put a link in the description to contribute to his campaign. But yeah, he actually went to Wharton, and one time I asked him about something to do with something what Trump had said. I can't remember what it was. I think it was something about what caused inflation, and he just started laughing because it was like if you ask, I don't know, I feel bad for people that actually know what they're talking about, having to deal with Trump or his administration or his administration's arguments about things, because it's like you're trying to argue with a monkey. And it's not just that you're trying to argue with a monkey. You're trying to argue with a monkey, and you have a moderator that pretends the monkey is saying intelligent things. So we've got Greg and Titan are over here having a conversation. Yes, Ron Vera says that tariffs are good. Good old Ron Vera. Thank you, Rachel, for pointing that out. If you missed it, there was a segment that she had on where she pointed out that Ron Vera, who is Peter Navarro's top expert on all things to do with tariffs, is also an anagram of Navarro. So, Ron Vera might not be a real person, people. And when you have to quote people that you made up to make your made up argument, it says a lot about your argument might be made up. Just saying. If you have to rely on fake people to make your fake argument, there's a good possibility it's not a good argument. All right. Let's see what else. Thank you guys for listening. Whoever you are.
It was bad, really bad for Americans before these tariffs. Inflation was up, costs of living was up, consumer confidence was down. We saw all of these things that were already betraying what his promises were to a lot of people that put their faith in him, that he would make their cost of living better. But now it is a true, just taking a battle axe to the economic well-being of Americans, and frankly, having an effect that's going across the globe. And so let's just start with the reality is that this is going to drive prices even higher for Americans, thousands of dollars to the average American's annual cost of living. For people that have 401k accounts, their retirement security, they've lost thousands and thousands. I've been hearing from people who had hoped to retire this year after working for 25, 30, 35 years, but now don't think they have the money because he's taken $6 trillion overall out of the markets. And then just to see all these big economic indicators start to project a recession, it just shows that this man, first of all, knows nothing. Even his right-wing supporters, right-leaning think tanks like the American Enterprise Institute, have said even the justification that he's making, the data that he's relying on is flawed and convoluted and not based in any kind of strategy or science or economics. So this just shows exactly what we were saying about Donald Trump before he got in here. This is what his own former chief of staff was saying, what his own former secretary of defense was saying. All these people said that he was a danger to the national security, a danger to our economy, a danger and a real risk of the continuance of our country.
How much I told you so can you fit in one program? First of all, I just want to say Cory Booker is not someone I had pegged as being the one who might rise to the top through all of this, but I've been really impressed with him. He has been one of the few, I should say, who has really sparked a fire in the Democrat, not the party, but the down home Democrat, the guy, just the regular Democratic voter. I think we were all, or almost all, really encouraged by his 25-hour speech. Sorry, got some reflux happening here. But we were all inspired by his 25-hour speech. And I have trouble filling up an hour of rambling. I don't know how he managed to do it for 25 hours. And he was actually pretty substantive for most of that time, it seems like. And of course, he does have a staff that helps him write up stuff. But anyway, I appreciated he wasn't on there reading Dr. Seuss like a certain ferret-faced senator from Texas. He used that time to say things that were important things. But anyway, aside from that, what he's saying here is significant. That I really would like I really wish that the media would follow through on certain things, and one of those is you always talk about the Trump voter. Well, where's all the feedback now on the Trump voters? Because as far as I can see, and you can make fun of it as much as you want, and I encourage you to, because it deserves to be made fun of. But the tigers eating faces, there are a lot of people with faces being eaten that are exclaiming why after having voted for the Tigers Eating Faces party. And where are all the New York Times think pieces on the despaired Republicans? Because if this were reversed, if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris had won, and then she had gone in and immediately just gone about doing the exact opposite of what her entire campaign was premised on. And they want to talk about this is what they voted for. No. Nobody voted for higher prices. People voted for lower prices. They voted for the guy who said he was going to lower prices. Not for the guy who promised that he would pay tariffs, put tariffs on everything. And yes, he did put tariffs on everything, and I get that. But where I think there's a disconnect is the people that voted for him because he was putting tariffs on everything are the same idiots who believed that other countries pay tariffs. So when I play a clip of Donald Trump sitting there talking about how China is going to pay the tariffs, and when I point out that you're not going to see the tariffs on your register receipt, those things are connected. Like, don't expect the Trump voters to suddenly realize that they pay tariffs and that what Donald Trump is doing is working against them. They're trying the same playbook. They're going to sit there and they are going to charge the tariffs while you pay them at the cash register. They're going to blame Biden's inflation for it, and they're going to cut taxes while they're doing it. This is all just the end game here is to shift the tax burden from the wealthy to the poor. That is it. If you don't understand that, then you don't understand anything at all that's happening here. But that is exactly what this entire game is about. It is not about, I see just these weird ass explanations. Oh, he's intentionally trying to drive us into a recession so that then they can renegotiate the treasury debt and get a lower interest rate on that. And then when they get the lower interest rate on that, then they can, rebuild the economy faster because there's a lower interest rate on the debt. And it's like, you morons. Like, first of all, that's stupid. Like, if Biden had run a campaign on, I'm going to drive the economy into a recession because recessions are good, I don't think that the Republicans would be sitting there supporting that as a great idea. Okay, second, I wonder, that's a good question. I wonder how much planning goes into a marathon. It's got to be a lot, right? Like, you've got to have, like, and you wonder what kind of, like, boss he is. Is he like, no, that's stupid? Or is he, like, being nice? Because that some people, like, worked really, really hard on that. Anyway, so I got sidetracked. So the economy. What was I talking about? Somebody ought to know. One of the, I don't know what an OSINT. Okay. Well, I have just my brain completely train wrecked, so we're just going to go to the next video clip.
Our country was the strongest, believe it or not, from 1870 to 1913. You know why? It was all tariff-based. We had no income tax. Then in 1913, some genius came up with the idea of let's charge the people of our country, not foreign countries that are ripping off our country. And the country was never that kind of wealth. We had so much wealth, we didn't know what to do with our money. We had meetings.
Okay, first of all, I don't know where he's talking about. We had so much wealth. We had, like, there's nothing. Okay, U.S. wealth world. I don't know if he's getting into the roaring 20s or what, which in some ways might make sense, depending on what you think of as we. The U.S. was one of the wealthiest countries in the world in the 20s, but the income disparity was really, really bad. And if you were one of the oligarchs, it was great. So maybe that's what he's thinking. Maybe when he says, make America great again, that's why he's thinking it. But what he's missing here, and he's like he goes on about the 16th Amendment or whatever, and he's kind of been on this anti-16th Amendment thing, which the 16th Amendment, is what was about income taxes. And income taxes are, before income taxes, we had two primary ways that the government taxing citizens. One was excise taxes and one was tariffs. Tariffs were, as we all have learned, taxes on goods that are imported. Excise taxes are taxes on specific goods. Traditionally, we also call those sin taxes. They're on things like tobacco and alcohol and firearms, and now we apply them to gasoline. But there are specific products that we put them on, that we put excise taxes on, that are in addition to any other sales tax or whatever. But for after the Civil War, we started shifting more to excise taxes than just tariffs alone. But the problem with either excise taxes or tariffs is that those are both regressive taxes, meaning that they fall more on people that make less money than people that make more money. And we went to this in 1995, I want to say. We tried to pass a law about collecting federal income taxes, but then it got shot down by the Supreme Court, which is why we needed the 16th Amendment. And while that's had a few challenges on its own, the Supreme Court has always upheld the income tax since then. And there's like some weird rationales about, you can't tax the same income twice. And it's like, why not? Anyway, that's a whole other ball game. There's the income taxes are better for a number of reasons. One is that they're more progressive, or they can be. They should be, but that's like a whole other show to talk about right there. There's also the fact that they're more stable. Like when you're talking about tariffs being a big part of your income, then it's like that means that trade with other countries, your revenue, your national revenue, depends largely on that trade with other countries. So let's say, for instance, you start a trade war. Well, that could drastically impact your revenue in a negative way. And so it's not a good foundation to federal revenue is tariffs. And it's also not needed anymore because we have, like income taxes now. And so he's kind of stupid in going back to this thing. And as many people have pointed out, and I'm not making the argument here because it's been argued enough, those tariffs did not work well for the economy. We had recessions after every big tariff hike, or depressions even. It's like tariff hikes are not good for the country. They have not been good for the country. They do not make the country more wealthy. They do not make the country more profitable. All they do is redistribute money inside the country. And generally, they tend to redistribute that money from the poor to the wealthy. So, oh well, I guess. Let's go to the next. I think I still have a few more videos I set aside for today. Oops. Machine Pun Kelly. That's not it. Whoops, I made myself disappear. Okay, let's try this again.
You know, our country was the strongest, believe it or not, from 1870.
Oh, that one I've already shown. Sorry. I need to work out a better system here. You know what I need is
This is the new Republican Party, whether you like it or not. I mean, Trump won because he won blue-collar union voters. And
I get so tired of people saying why Trump won. It's like there's like a million reasons why Trump won. Well, does that mean that the other 999,999 are wrong? Trump did not win because he won over blue-collar voters. Trump won because the media did a shitty job of explaining how tariffs work.
And he and the Republicans view that as the base of the party now, and it's different. It's different than when Reagan won, where it was mostly wealthy people. Now the wealthy people vote Democratic, and middle class people are generally voting Republican. And so this is a policy position that's actually fairly popular with Americans.
It is not he's talking about tariffs, and it is not a policy position fairly popular with Americans. Let's just, I'm going to, his approval rating is down to 43%. As a result of his popular tariff decisions. Yeah, I don't think so.
Wait,
right. I'm a free
which
trader.
part, Scott? I'm sorry, Steve.
But
which part do you think is popular? Because I don't think that's true.
Well, let me just say
Thank you. Somebody calling him out.
Even though Trump knows I'm a free trade guy, and he knows that I oftentimes oppose these policies, he still calls on me. He likes to get different opinions from different people. And in the end of the day, I'm going to predict.
At the end of the day, as opposed to like at the start of the day? At the end of what day? Anyway, I know I hate that idiom.
This has been a rough period, no question, but Trump is a winner.
It's been a rough period as though it's over. Like, oh, we don't have to worry about this anymore.
He's a master negotiator.
No, he's not a master negotiator. Stop saying he's a master negotiator. He couldn't negotiate his own way out of a wet paper bag.
I think at the end of the day, you're going to have these countries calling him up on the phone.
Okay, what countries? I keep hearing about countries calling him on the phone. I have not seen one country say that they've called him. What countries? Where are these negotiations happening? Who are they happening with? Why do they only happen in theory when Republicans are being interviewed?
One by one and making a deal with them. It's going to be good for
What's going to happen to the U.S.
Also, widespread voter suppression, the Great Fascist Party. Greg, this is one thing thanks for bringing this up, even though it's not really relevant to anything we're talking about. But one thing that's really irked me is that we talk about, these voter suppression laws in advance, and then afterwards, we're like, what happened to the Democratic vote? And it's like, gee, do you think it could be some of those voter suppression laws worked? Could that be why we lost in Michigan? We lost in Florida. or in Georgia, we lost in, you know, Arizona or whatever. Like maybe those laws, which we were screaming were designed to prevent people from voting, actually worked. Maybe those things did what they were designed to do. Maybe voter suppression really is the reason that Trump won again. So yeah, I agree. We need to talk more about that. Here's the thing though. This is maybe the hill I've been meaning to climb on and fight for. I'm so tired of people saying, oh, well, you know, don't get distracted. Trump will come out and he'll do something, you know, like insane and stupid. And then everybody will say, don't get distracted. Like I've already gotten distracted. I was going to talk today about the whole deporting people illegally thing. Never got around to that yet. I mean, obviously we shouldn't be deporting people illegally. And we've got this Supreme Court ruling that came down that is being misinterpreted. It did not say that it's okay for, you know, anything that the right-wing media is saying it says, but it also didn't tell Donald Trump no, which is what it needed to do regarding the Alien War Powers Act and stuff like that. Like, in essence, what it said is this case was brought through the wrong venue, and it needs to be refiled over here instead of over here, which I think is bullshit because you've got people that are illegally being detained in an El Salvadorian prison. But the Supreme Court is worried about procedural shit. Like, fuck you. Would it be if it were John Roberts' son in that fucking prison? Do you think that they would have been the same? Those are real people that were just doing their own business, minding their own lives, and all of a sudden they're getting shipped off to a third world prison, stripped to their underwear, and having photoshops with Pornhub governor, whatever her name is, Kristi Noem, the dog murderer. Like, what's wrong with these people? Anyway. It's hard to know what to say is the distraction and what is the reality. What, you know, like where is the ball for me to swing at? You know, is it Donald? Is it Doge and the dismantling of the entire federal government? Is it what's going on with the tariffs and the destruction of the separation of powers? Shouldn't, you know, because last I saw, the Constitution gave Congress the right to determine tariffs. And you've got a president who has usurped powers given to him by Congress, and a Congress not willing to fight back for those powers. You've got a, you know, basically a Senate filled with little bitches, which I have no. I don't really use the word bitches unless it refers to, you know, like Republican bitches, I guess. I don't like that word when it's used for women. But when it's used for Republicans, I think it's okay. I'm tired of it. Like, I don't know what to. How do you even penetrate brains that are okay with locking up people that weren't even convicted of anything? You know, oh, well, the federal government said that they were part of this gang. To whom did they say it? To whom did they prove it? Like, we either have due process or we don't. And for a bunch of people that screamed as much about due process as your president faced it, as your president went through every aspect and every phase of the due process that any citizen would ever have, and you sat there and complained that he didn't, all of a sudden you're like ready to jump on board and just deport people because they have tattoos and speak Spanish. What if it's you? What if it's you? What, you know, like you can say, well, but I didn't do this and I didn't do that. Well, neither did they. Not in terms, like, not in terms of any court. Where is the evidence? That, I mean, like, that's what we need. That's why we have due process. Is you have to actually prove and establish things before a court before you can destroy somebody's life. And you're not just destroying their life. You're destroying the wife's life. You're destroying the children's lives. And why? Why? An irrational hatred of pigment? You got stuffed in a locker when you were a little kid, Stephen Miller? Or did you get stuffed in a locker by a little kid when you were an adult, Stephen Miller? If anybody can be deported, you can be deported. I don't care who you are. Even you, Stephen. Even you. What if the next president comes along, decides you're an El Salvadorian gangster? What are you going to do, Stephen? Cry from your locker? And then so Greg points out, if they can do it with someone with valid asylum status, they can black bag citizens, including those in protected groups like veterans. And that's the thing, is this one guy, Garcia, I think his last name was. I might be wrong. But he was, in 2019, an immigration court said, no, you cannot deport him. There's a credible threat to his life if he goes back. And so not only was there not a court order, did the Trump administration not have a court order to deport him, there was a court order, you can't deport him. And they still did it. This is not just they accidentally deported somebody illegally, or it's kind of been represented as, well, it's this misunderstanding between the court and the Trump administration. No, this is the Trump administration spitting in the face of a court order. And it wasn't even a court order during the Biden administration. It was a court order during the Trump administration. The 2019 court said, don't send this guy back. And what did the Trump administration do? After 4 years of not being able to, is they got back in. One of the first things they did is they sent this guy to an El Salvadorian prison. Why? What did he do? They say he's a member of a gang. There's no evidence that he's a member of a gang. And even if he were a member of a gang, that's why we have due process, is so that you can prove that to a court, and the court can then say, okay, yes, this guy should be deported. But none of that happened. Nobody's arguing that criminals should be allowed to run around recklessly and causing harm to the country. But we are arguing that the government cannot just ascertain that you are a criminal and send you to an El Salvadorian prison without a court, without anything. And if they can do that to a non-citizen, they can do that to a citizen. Because all they have to do is say, I don't believe you're a citizen. If they can do it to him, they can do it to you. What's going to stop them? What's going to stop them? If nothing could stop, if a court order saying they couldn't send this guy back didn't keep them from sending that guy back, what's going to stop them from sending you back? And if you say, I don't blah, 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 well, what you blah, blah, blah doesn't matter. But could it be you're not worried about it? Because you don't think the same way as the, like the left? Could it be that your ideology is what you're feeling secure in? And if that's the case, should you feel secure in it? If the only thing that separates you from prison is your ideology, there's a problem with your ideology. Or there's a, if you're okay with that, if part of your ideology is that your ideology is part of your safety net, then there's a problem with your ideology, because you are not allowing for anybody to disagree with you. And that's what's going on with the Trump administration. It's not about what they did, it's about who they are. There are people that they can say were gangsters, and that's it. Doesn't matter if they were, doesn't matter if they weren't. All it matters is they can be accused of it. They can have all their clothes stripped off. They can have their hair shaved, and that proves it, because they got tattoos. They are brown people with tattoos, and if that doesn't convince you that they're, criminals, then nothing will. That's why there's a photo op with the Department of Homeland Security standing there illegally with a bunch of half-naked men with tattoos in an El Salvadorian prison because she needed a photo op. She wanted to show, oh, this is what happens if you come to America. Look how tough I am. Yeah. No, I look at what an evil bitch you are. You're not really that tough. You didn't corral them yourself. You're not that tough. Put your little fucking gun away. You're a child. You're an overgrown child is what you are. Anyway, I cannot wrap my head around how some people are okay with deporting people without due process. And not just deporting them to foreign prisons. Like, are you okay if I sent you to prison in El Salvador without a trial? Because if it can happen to them, it can happen to you. Anyone can end up in an El Salvadorian prison tomorrow, including you. I don't care if you voted for Trump. So anyway, I think I might have one more video here. Oh, this one.
When do you think the market might turn around?
Nope. Sorry.
It's finding a bottom now. It's finding a.
All right. I can't find the one I was. Need to do a better job of organizing this shit. Oh, here we go. Idiot Roundtable. This is the one.
Global economy by bringing it all home to America. Put America first by putting our paychecks first, by securing this nation first.
Okay, you'll note it. Put America first by putting our paychecks first. By what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you haven't said anything. All you've said is like the word first a lot. You haven't actually said anything that matters.
And the rest of the world, including our allies, will take.
So if we all do this hypothetical weird thing that you have not explained, then the rest of the world will rally around us, and they will plant rose bushes, and they will all sing songs, and they will throw their hats in the air and yell hooray or whatever.
Advantage of us if we let them.
We let them do
it. If we let them, we just let them. They will take advantage of us. How have they taken advantage of us? Please. Tell me specifically how they have taken advantage of it. Because I keep hearing this about how they're taking advantage of us, but I have yet to hear how. I have yet to hear one person say one thing that is like an actual example of them taking taking advantage of us.
50 or 60
Yes,
years, Senator
since World War II.
But since World War II, people, World War II.
To you, it seems that the magic sauce here would be speed. Now that they're willing to deal, get the deal done.
Now that they're willing to deal, who's willing to deal? We keep hearing about how people are willing to deal. Who's willing to deal, Sean? Who's willing to deal? You're just like set aside. Okay, yeah, we just gonna set aside this whole thing. That is the entire problem, and we're just gonna dismiss this with the brush of my right hand.
Well, and
see, it all went away just like that. His hand went down, and boom, all the problems were solved with the tariff.
Take the deal. We're at a fork in the road.
Take the deal. Take the deal. Take the deal, says Ted. What deal, Ted? Who's offering us a deal? No one's offering us a deal. There are no deals to take.
What deal? Take the deal, make deals, and actually...
Okay, make what deal? That's what everybody wants to know. What is the deal? What is the deal? What can we do with the EU? What is the tariffs that the EU should offer? Please tell us what a deal means. Because it does, like, all we hear is just empty rhetoric. Can we hear some more, please, Mr. Ferret Face?
Work to lower tariffs. Look, we're at a fork in the road, and it's a real...
We're at a fork in the road. We're not at a fork in a road. What happened is that a stupid idiot stuck a fork in the middle of your forehead.
Lower or reciprocal? Lower tariffs on both sides. Reciprocal. I'm saying...
Lower reciprocal what? Whose side? What both sides? There's like 190 countries in the world. What? Both sides? The EU? China? Like what?
Reciprocal, but here's the fork in the road. What do you do once you announce these tariffs last week? One option, and the option that I hope and pray the president takes, is you've got countries beating a path to the White House saying, Uncle, let us up.
No, but we don't have a path being beaten to the White House of people saying, let us up. Yeah, they know what you have is people beating a path away from the White House saying, look, we can't deal with that deranged orange motherfucker anymore. How about we work out a deal independent of the United States?
We'll slash our tariffs. We'll slash our barriers to trade.
Nobody's saying that. Nobody. And there aren't massive tariffs and barriers to trade against the United States.
In exchange for you doing it. If the outcome of these tariffs announced last week is in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, we see tariffs slashed worldwide.
Yeah, if unicorns farted marshmallows, then we could be having the best s'mores ever.
We see the barriers to U.S. farmers and ranchers and manufacturers dropping enormously, and suddenly we're able to access other markets, and these tariffs drop here. That's a great outcome. President Trump has the opportunity for the most extraordinary economic win for the American people.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. They just say shit like that. They just say it as though it has meaning.
Right now, by making a deal, by saying, let's cut a
What deal? Again, what deal?
Deal. But on the other hand, and I do want to give a word of warning.
Oh, a word of warning.
There are voices in the administration that rather than take a deal are saying we want to have tariffs as a long-term permanent.
Yeah, those are the idiots who have Trump's ear, A, and B, there's not a fucking compromise on the table.
Feature of the economy. I think that'd be a mistake. If a year from now, our trading partners have all jacked up tariffs on America and we have high tariffs on everyone, I think that'll hurt this country.
Yeah, and you know what you'll be saying then? You'll be saying just the kind of little bitch things you're saying now. God, I hate this man. He is such a ferret-faced little weasel shit. Anyway. My goodness. You know, sometimes people say that he's stupid, but he's not stupid. His voters are stupid, and he speaks to stupid people. And he knows he's speaking to stupid people. He knows what he's saying is horse shit. That's why he's trying to have it both ways. Oh, well, right now, but then 30, You know, 30, 60, 90. Okay, well, which is it? Is it 30, 60, or 90 days? And then he goes to about a year. But in a year, what? When you've already used to paying 10% more for everything? Do you think that then he's gonna really put his foot down and say it's time to, you know, get away from these tariffs? No. He's a little bitch-ass bitch doing little bitch-ass Ted Cruz bitch things. Anyway. I think that's enough for today. I appreciate you for joining. Thanks, Greg, for commenting. And Titan Uranus. I just got your screen name there. I will try to do that. I'll clench the sphincter and see if that helps. Anyway, I will talk to you guys later, and I appreciate you coming by.